take something that they might perceive as an indulgence, transform it into a fixed cost, and then once people can view it as a fixed cost, they say, well, why not have 2-day shipping on my items? And so for a certain segment of customers, this is a very attractive proposition. And it's specifically for that segment of customers where convenience is most valued. So there's another segment of customers who are completely happy to wait 8 business days for the products. They'll use our Super Saver shipping offer, which is free. All they have to do is meet a $25 order hurdle. So they're perfectly willing to save a few things in their shopping cart until they can meet that order hurdle. They sort of manage that. It creates a little bit of mental overhead for them, but they're okay with that. And so that becomes a great value proposition for them. And there's another set of customers who think about this completely differently. They hate the fact that there's this $25 order hurdle. They want to be able to buy, one thing when they see it, get it done, have it come. They want it to come fast. They don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to have to try and optimize shipping costs. And in fact, one of the things that happens for that kind of customer too is there's a kind of cognitive dissonance or guilt that gets set up in their head. Since they can get the shipping for free, they feel like they should be getting the shipping for free. And so even though maybe for them that's not actually a rational economic consideration. This is another convenience-oriented feature that's been on the website for a couple of years now. It's Instant Order Update. And this reminds you that you've already bought something. And we get feedback from customers all the time. This is something that we measured, tested very, very carefully, and it reduces sales. There's just no question about it that in the short term, it's a statistically significant way reduces sales. And so we overruled that with judgment and said, even though we can't do long-duration longitudinal tests in time, like a drug company would do to test for toxicity and that kind of thing, where they do like a 10-year test. Those tests are just so expensive to do. We're going to make a intuitive bet that having this thing that reminds you that you already bought something will be so beloved by customers that it'll be one of the reasons they like Amazon.com. And so, and in fact, we do get tremendous anecdotal response back from customers saying they love this feature. Little, thank you notes saying I was about to buy the same music CD that I bought a year ago. And this is very real. I don't know, some people are more organized and have better memories than others. I definitely fall prey to this. In fact, just yesterday, I was reading a blog that mentioned a Walt Disney DVD back in the late 50s or early 60s, I can't remember when. Walt Disney was very interested in space, and he hired Wernher von Braun and did a whole series of television specials about the exploration of space, starring Wernher von Braun. And these things have been collected on a DVD, and I read about this on this blog, and I thought, my God, this is so cool. I have to buy this. And so I went to Amazon.com. Actually, they were an associate, and so they had a link handy for me, and I clicked right through to the detail page, and there was my Instant Order Update. I had bought it a year ago. And I've never watched it. I bought it, and I must have, put it somewhere, and so now I'm going to go search for it. This is a real one, too. Drew, who's sitting down here, told me that he almost bought these earrings for his wife a second time. And is that a true story? So I think in that case, that was really a valuable service. Another convenience-oriented feature is giving people high-quality product information right on the detail page. And one of the great things about this is a piece of the detail page for the Segway, and it explains in great detail how the Segway works. And one of the great things about the online model that we use is that a lot of our best customer experience is a fixed cost. So if you have enough scale, if you have, so in the last 12 months, we have these 47 million customers who have purchased from Amazon.com. And if you have 47 million customers, you get to amortize that the cost of all this content across that very large customer base. And so there's a sense in which you can have your cake and eat it too. If you look in the physical world, at physical world retail stores, the kind of high-touch customer experience stores cannot have the lowest costs. And the reason for that is that those stores, the things that generate high-touch customer experience in the physical world are variable cost things. So when you double your sales, you double those costs. Our model, when you look at this kind of content or any of the software features that we provide, at Instant Order Update, it's, somebody has to develop that and maintain it and make it work. But it would cost us the same to do that development if we had 1 million customers as it does if we have 47 million customers. So that aspect of our model, that we get to transform customer experience into a fixed cost instead of a variable cost, is really a key. It's underappreciated aspect of what we do. Now, this is also, for any company that wants to be innovative, absolutely critical thing to do, which is to not be distracted when people tell you that this is stupid and isn't going to work. And people are well-meaning, and entrepreneurs, and I've used that term in the most broad way, people who are building, people who are inventing, have to have this combination of stubbornness and flexibility. And the trick, of course, is knowing which to use when. But what you cannot do is be distracted by the outside world. You have to stay heads down, focused on customers, and not let external events distract you. And Amazon is a very good case of this. This is December of 1998. And actually, this is a phrase that, and I think Rob is in the audience, but this is not you, Rob. You didn't write this. But this is a case of, in 1997, Forrester Research coined this term. And Barnes & Noble had just launched their online store. And I thought that Forrester had a very good point. They were saying, Amazon is this 2-year-old company. They've had this nice 2-year run, but sort of now the big gorilla has come to town. And at the time, we had annual revenues of $60 million a year. We had 125 employees, and Barnes & Noble had 30,000 employees, and at that time, $3 billion a year in sales. And so it didn't seem like an even fight. And they coined this term Amazon.toast. And it was widely picked up, and and it did bother. There's one feedback loop here that has to be managed, which is you have to make sure that that you have some all-hands meetings and that you communicate to employees what they should they be worried about this or shouldn't they be worried about this. And in our case, I thought this was a very simple situation because I didn't think there was anything we could do about what our competitors were going to do. And so, we did have the all-hands meeting, and I asked all of our 125 employees to be terrified and to wake up with their sheets drenched in sweat every morning. And I carefully specified sweat. But that they should be afraid not of our competitors, but they should be afraid of our customers, because our customers are the only ones who are going to ever give us money. And so that helps. It actually helps have that kind of customer focus because it helps you stay heads down. You don't get worried about what your competitors. Your competitors are going to do what your competitors are going to do. You can watch them. You can learn from them. But you can't let them set your strategy. You have to do what you're going to do, and you also can't let the media set your strategy. But you do see that happen. You can't let Wall Street set your strategy either. This is a year after Amazon.toast. This is May of 1999, I've always been amused by this, but I'm comfortable being misunderstood. But this, I have to tell you, my mom really hated this. This really bothered her. She was so pissed off about this. She just didn't like that caricature. It really bothered her. So, But anyway, you just have to ignore those outside influences. You can listen and kind of try to see if there's any kernels of truth that you can take and adapt. There's no reason to have a siege mentality. But those are the kind of reactions you see. You either see that people enter this sort of siege mentality with respect to external factors, or they're too responsive to these external factors. And the reality is, you have to take it with a grain of salt and re-examine your strategy, make sure that you really believe in it, it's the right one, and stick to it. That's the only way you can invent. Because invention always leads you down paths that people are going to think are weird. It's sort of obvious. This is that ACSI score. And it's actually 4 years running that we've had this highest score. So one of the things I mentioned is with the carbon dating and what happens in the online is in tech in general is you get so much change, and you have to sometimes look at the change and see what you can invent. So one of these things is Moore's law, which is remarkable, and its variance for bandwidth and storage. But if you look at disk space costs as an example, disk space is 30 times cheaper today than it was 5 years ago. And so, that's just what happens when things get twice as cheap every year for 5 years. And humans aren't good at thinking in those kind of, exponential terms. But this is really a big deal. And if you were to picture a physical store, when things change that rapidly, it actually creates a problem. You have to figure out, what are we going to do with all that disk space? Because it's not, you can't just pocket the cost savings. You don't get enough value out of that.